Chapter 1. The world hummed with a strange energy as the morning sun rose over Earth's horizon. But this wasn't just any morning. In the heart of the planet's most secure military facility, located miles beneath the surface, Captain Olivia Hayes stood before a massive holographic display, watching with cold precision as the alien fleet approached Earth. Her dark eyes never wavered. She was calm, but every part of her being was alert. This wasn't a drill. This was the real thing. She had always known this moment could come, but it still felt surreal. In her mind, she could hear her father's voice, the voice of a man who had lived through humanity's darkest days. When they come, you'll be ready. They won't see you coming. A soft chime from her console broke her thoughts. A new communication was coming in. She pressed a button, and a voice crackled through the speakers, low, guttural, and filled with contempt. This is K, Supreme Commander of the Zorash Imperial Fleet. Earth will surrender or be reduced to ash. Your defenses are laughable and your fate sealed. Olivia leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. The voice of the alien invader was full of arrogance, but that didn't surprise her. Alien species had always underestimated humanity's resolve. They thought Earth was nothing more than a planet of primitive minds and weaklings, ripe for conquest. They were wrong. She stood up straight, commanding her crew with a simple gesture. "Prepare for engagement," she said, her voice unwavering. There was no room for doubt. Not now. Her mind raced, going over the tactics she had spent years refining, even when no one else had believed in them. Earth had resources, strategy, and one thing the Zorash Empire would never anticipate: the human will to survive. In the command center, the air was thick with tension. Generals and officers moved quickly from station to station, each executing their duties with military precision. Olivia moved to the central table, her fingers brushing over a map of Earth's defenses. It was a global effort, alliances forged not by treaties but by necessity. The world's unified military fleet was her responsibility. Every officer, every soldier was counting on her. "General Tanaka," Olivia called out, not taking her eyes off the map. "Divert all available defense fleets to intercept the incoming strike. I want every satellite online, every defense system locked and ready. They'll hit hard, but we've anticipated this." Tanaka, a tall man with gray hair that showed his experience, nodded sharply. "Yes, ma'am. We're setting up the intercept on the western approach. The stealth ships are ready." "Good. I want them in position now," Olivia said, her voice commanding the room. She turned to the communications officer. Her next order is a simple one, but crucial. Send a message to the United Federation of Planets. They need to know what we're up against. As the officers scrambled to execute her orders, Olivia stood still, her mind focused. This was more than just military tactics. This was about humanity's survival. She would not let Earth fall. Zora's fleet moved swiftly, a collection of sleek warships that cut through space like a knife through butter. His fleet had decimated countless planets, worlds with advanced technology, civilizations that had far surpassed Earth. Zorash was confident. Too confident. "Commander, Earth is within range," his first officer said. Zorash glared at the holographic map. "Open communications. Let's give them a chance to beg for mercy." The screen flickered as Olivia's face appeared in front of him. Her expression was calm, but there was a steel edge in her gaze that sent a shiver down Zora's spine. "This is Captain Olivia Hayes of Earth's Defense Fleet," she said, her voice steady and calm, yet filled with an unspoken power. "We've received your message, and as you can see, we're ready for you. I suggest you reconsider your approach." Zorash scoffed, his mandibles clicking in what could only be interpreted as a mocking laugh. "I'm not interested in your threats, human. Surrender now, or we will reduce your civilization to dust." "Not today, Zorash," Olivia replied, her eyes hardening. "Not today." The transmission cut abruptly, and Zorash was left staring at a blank screen, his face twisted in contempt. "So be it," he muttered. "Fire the first salvo." On Earth, the first salvo from Zorash's fleet hit the atmosphere with the force of a thunderstorm. Missiles blazed through space, leaving streaks of light in their wake as they descended toward Earth. The world's defense systems responded in kind. Satellites fired long-range plasma cannons, their beams connecting with the incoming projectiles. Explosions rippled through the atmosphere. Olivia watched the explosion unfold on the display. Earth was holding its ground, but she knew better than anyone. This was only the beginning. "Deploy the drones," she ordered. Her fingers flew across the console as she input the command. Hundreds of tiny combat drones were launched from hidden silos around the globe, creating a dense network of resistance. "Deploy the electromagnetic pulse," Olivia continued. "Make sure it's synchronized with the second wave." The ground shook as EMP blasts surged into the sky, disrupting the alien fleet's communications and disabling several of their smaller ships. Zhek's ships faltered for a moment, their weapons misfiring as the pulse rippled through the atmosphere. It was only temporary, but it was enough to give Earth's defenders a slight advantage. Zhek gripped the armrest of his command chair, his patience thinning. "What is this?" he growled, watching his fleet struggle to regain its footing. "How is this possible?" "Commander, the human fleet is far more coordinated than anticipated," his tactical officer reported, her antennae twitching with stress. "Their technology is not as advanced, but their strategies are unpredictable." Zhek slammed his fist into the armrest. "I underestimated them. I'll make sure they regret that." Olivia glanced around the command center. The tension was palpable, but there was no fear in her eyes, only resolve. She turned to General Tanaka. "We're going to hold them off. Not just for Earth, but for every planet they've ever thought they could crush. The Zorash Empire is about to learn what happens when you underestimate humanity." Tanaka met her gaze, a nod of understanding passing between them. They knew what was at stake. This was more than a battle for Earth. It was humanity's declaration to the galaxy that they would not be ruled. "Activate the decoys," Olivia said, her voice now steady and unyielding. "We're going to make sure Zhek regrets underestimating us." As the first round of alien missiles collided with Earth's outer defenses, Olivia's eyes locked onto the flickering map, her mind already racing through the next steps. The battle had begun, but humanity's fight for survival had only just started. The countdown had begun. Earth had no intention of going down quietly. Chapter 2. The air was thick with tension as Olivia stood at the heart of Earth's Defense Command Center, her eyes locked on the holographic display. The incoming alien fleet loomed ever closer, their weapons primed for a devastating assault. But Olivia wasn't worried, at least not yet. Every move, every strategy had been meticulously planned in anticipation of this very moment. She had no intention of letting Earth fall into the hands of the Zorash Empire. "Status report, General Tanaka," Olivia asked, her voice calm but with an edge of urgency. Tanaka, who had been coordinating Earth's global defense for over a decade, snapped his attention from the screen. "The first wave is incoming. We've activated all satellite defense systems, and the ground-based EMPs are locked. The stealth ships are in position as well. The first volley of alien fire is almost upon us." Olivia nodded, her fingers tracing the edge of the map as she mentally prepared for the chaos. "Make sure the electromagnetic pulse hits at the right moment. We can't afford a misstep." Tanaka nodded and turned to his station, speaking quickly to the officers working beneath him. The room hummed with activity as they made final preparations. Olivia's eyes briefly scanned the rest of the command center. Officers moving with precision, their faces illuminated by the glow of monitors and tactical maps. This was a well-oiled machine, and for the first time, Olivia felt the weight of her responsibility. The fate of Earth was in her hands. The countdown to impact was nearing its end. She could feel the air in the room become thick with anticipation as the alien fleet crossed into Earth's atmosphere. She took a deep breath. It was now or never. On board Zhek's flagship, the first officer glanced nervously at the commander. "The human defenses are more coordinated than we anticipated, Commander. Their EMP bursts are disrupting our communications, and some of the secondary craft have been disabled." Zhek stood tall, his figure exuding the kind of cold confidence that only an Imperial warlord could. His red, chitinous exoskeleton glinted under the dim light of the command bridge. He clenched his fists, steadying himself. "This is a mere delay," he muttered. "They will fall like all the others." "Shall we adjust the targeting systems?" the first officer asked, his antennae twitching with worry. Zora's mandibles clicked in irritation. "No. Fire the first wave as planned. They must learn that resistance is futile." The officer hesitated for a moment, but Zora's voice brooked no argument. With a swift motion, he signaled the order. "Prepare to fire. I want their cities in ashes." Back on Earth, Olivia's voice cut through the tension in the command room. "The first wave is incoming. Brace yourselves." The ground shook as the alien missiles began to rain down, their destructive force like a storm tearing through the sky. Olivia's eyes narrowed as she watched the trajectory of the projectiles. "Activate the EMP on my mark." The seconds felt like hours. "Mark," she commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. The EMPs fired in perfect synchronization, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. A violent ripple spread across the sky as the electromagnetic pulses struck the alien missiles, causing them to malfunction mid-flight. Several veered off course, colliding with one another in fiery explosions. Some crashed harmlessly into the atmosphere, disintegrating before they could reach the surface. But not all were neutralized. "Direct hit on Sector 14, an officer shouted, eyes wide with shock. "Damage report." Olivia barked. "Minimal, but we've lost 2 of the outer defense turrets." "Casualties unknown," another officer responded, her voice strained. Olivia's heart skipped a beat, but she didn't show it. "Divert the reserves to Sector 14. We hold the line. They won't get through." The battle had only just begun, and already the sheer scale of the alien assault was apparent. But Olivia wasn't about to let Earth falter. She was prepared for this. As the alien fleet pressed on, the barrage of fire intensified. Earth's defenses were holding, but the strain was starting to show. Ships were being disabled in the atmosphere, one after another, but Zora's forces showed no sign of letting up. The alien fleet was massive, far larger than any force humanity had ever faced. But it wasn't just their numbers that Olivia feared. It was the overwhelming firepower they brought to bear. "General Tanaka," Olivia said, turning toward him, her face set with determination. "We need to disrupt their assault. Prepare the drones. I want them in the air now." Tanaka hesitated for only a moment. "Captain, they'll be targeting anything that moves." "Do it," she ordered, cutting him off. "We need them distracted." The drone strike was Earth's last trump card. Small, fast-moving combat drones were launched from underground silos and high-altitude defense platforms. Their objective was simple: create enough of a disruption to buy Earth's defenders time to recalibrate and regroup. On Zora's flagship, the sudden appearance of Earth drones took the alien fleet by surprise. For a moment, they seemed like an afterthought, small, insignificant specks against the backdrop of Zora's mighty armada. But that perception quickly changed. "Sir, the drones are evading our targeting systems," the officer reported, a note of frustration creeping into her voice. "They're using our own missile fire against us. We're losing craft." Zora's expression darkened. His pride was wounded. "Counteract them. Open fire with the full fleet. I want those drones destroyed." Back on Earth, Olivia watched the tactical map with an intensity that left no room for doubt. "Keep the pressure on them," she muttered under her breath. "We can't let up." The drones, though small, were agile and relentless, weaving through the firestorm with deadly precision. They harassed the alien fleet, disrupting their targeting systems and forcing them to split their focus. "Direct hit on a command ship," one officer called out, excitement in her voice. Olivia's lips curled into a faint smile, but there was no time to celebrate. "Stay focused. They'll adjust their tactics. Expect a counterattack." Sure enough, the alien fleet soon adapted, retaliating with renewed fury. The drones were picked off one by one, but not before inflicting significant damage. As the first wave of alien fire continued, Earth's defense systems rallied, pushing back against the assault. On Zurake's flagship, his patience was wearing thin. The initial shock of Earth's resistance had begun to wear off, replaced with a gnawing anger. "Prepare for the second wave," he ordered, voice tinged with frustration. "We will break them, and when we do, they will learn their place." "Commander, we're receiving an encrypted transmission from Earth," his communications officer said, her voice laced with disbelief. It's a direct message to you." Zurake's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, revealing Olivia's calm but resolute face. "Zurake," she said, her tone unwavering. "You've underestimated us. You think we're weak. You think we'll fall without a fight. But I promise you, you're mistaken. Earth will never surrender." Zurake clenched his fists, his anger palpable. "Your words mean nothing. Earth will burn." Olivia's gaze hardened. "We'll see about that." On Zurake's flagship, his patience was wearing thin. The initial shock of Earth's resistance had begun to wear off, replaced with a gnawing anger. "Prepare for the second wave," he ordered, voice tinged with frustration. "We will break them, and when we do, they will learn their place." "Commander, we're receiving an encrypted transmission from Earth," his communications officer said, her voice laced with disbelief. It's a direct message to you." Zurake's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, revealing Olivia's calm but resolute face. "Zurake," she said, her tone unwavering. "You've underestimated us. You think we're weak. You think we'll fall without a fight. But I promise you, you're mistaken. Earth will never surrender." Zurake clenched his fists, his anger palpable. "Your words mean nothing. Earth will burn." Olivia's gaze hardened. "We'll see about that." The transmission ended, leaving Zurake seething. He snarled in frustration. Earth had shown resilience, and that made him more dangerous than any weapon. But he wasn't done yet. Ready the second wave. Earth's defiance ends here. The battle raged on, but Olivia remained steadfast. She knew this wasn't the final assault. This was only the beginning. Zurake's arrogance had been shaken, but not broken. And Earth's fight had only just begun. The air inside Earth's command center crackled with a hum of activity. Officers moved swiftly, their faces a mix of concentration and tension. The battle had shifted, and the alien fleet wasn't giving an inch. Olivia stood at the command table, her eyes scanning the data streams flashing across the holographic map. The first wave of Zurake's fleet had been repelled, but at a cost. Earth's defenses had held, barely, but now the real test had arrived. Zurake's forces were regrouping, preparing for an all-out second strike. "General Tanaka," Olivia said, her voice firm. "What's the status?" Tanaka's fingers danced across the console, eyes glued to the screen. "The enemy is consolidating their forces. They're not wasting time. They're readying for a full assault. The stealth ships are still in position, but if they come at us in full force, we won't be able to keep up for long." Olivia's brow furrowed. The first wave had been just a warning, a probing strike to test Earth's resolve. Zurake had underestimated them, but now he was coming back with everything he had. Earth's resources were finite. They couldn't afford to fight a war of attrition. She needed to think beyond the next few minutes, beyond the next few hours. If they were going to survive this, she had to be 2 steps ahead. "Prepare the fleet," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "We'll give them a fight they won't expect." Zurake's fleet hovered in space like a predatory swarm, dark ships glinting against the backdrop of the stars. From his flagship, Zurake watched Earth's defenses through a large projection window. His anger was simmering. Humanity had exceeded his expectations. Their resilience was both impressive and infuriating. He had underestimated them, but he wasn't about to make the same mistake twice. Commander, his second-in-command, a tall alien with a jagged carapace, spoke with cold precision. "We've gathered enough intel on Earth's tactics. The stealth ships are a concern, but we can overwhelm them if we deploy the full fleet." Zurake's gaze remained fixed on the planet below. "We'll do more than overwhelm them," he muttered. "We'll crush them." All units, prepare for full assault. Let's show them what true power looks like. The room around him vibrated as orders were relayed. Ships began powering up their weapons, and preparations for total war took shape. Back on Earth, the tension in the command center was palpable. Olivia had never seen her officers so focused. Everyone knew what was coming. Zorak's fleet was ready to strike with everything they had. Olivia could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Earth's defense was her responsibility. The holographic map flickered briefly as data streamed in from the satellites and drones that were still operational. The sheer scale of the alien fleet was overwhelming. She knew they couldn't hold this line forever, but there was one option left, one risky play that could turn the tide. "General Tanaka, are the drones in position?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. Tanaka glanced up, uncertainty crossing his face. "Yes, ma'am. But if we use them now, we're going all in. There's no backup plan." Olivia didn't hesitate. "We don't need a backup plan. If we don't disrupt their fleet now, there won't be an Earth left to save. Deploy them." The drones, Earth's last line of unconventional defense, were small but nimble. Their purpose was not to match the might of Case fleet head-to-head, but to sow confusion, cause chaos, and buy Earth's defenses precious moments to regroup. It was a high-risk maneuver, one that could go either way. The first wave of drones launched from Earth's outer defense lines with a speed that was almost too fast to track. They moved in unpredictable patterns, zigzagging through space, using the alien ship's own weapons against them. Earth's forces had engineered them specifically for this purpose, to be small, swift, and irritating. Zorak watched as the drones swarmed into his fleet like an angry hornet's nest. His eyes narrowed in anger. "What are these insignificant things?" he barked. "They're nothing but annoyances." "Commander," his tactical officer said with a hint of urgency, "the drones are causing significant disruption. Several ships have been forced to divert power to defense systems, and many are taking hits from their own weaponry." "Destroy them," Zorak roared. "Don't waste time. We'll burn them out." Olivia watched the chaos unfold on her tactical display. The drones were doing their job, disrupting the alien fleet, causing confusion, and pulling their attention away from Earth's more vital defenses. She knew this wouldn't last long, but the longer they kept JK's forces on the defensive, the better their chances. "Now," Olivia muttered under her breath. "Now we strike." She turned to Tanaka. "Activate the secondary fleet. Prepare to launch." Tanaka looked at her, hesitation in his eyes. "You're risking everything. If this doesn't work—" "It will work," Olivia interrupted, her voice steel. "We've already bought ourselves time. Now we hit them with everything we have." From the depths of Earth's hidden facilities, the secondary fleet emerged, a series of small, fast-moving warships designed for rapid response. These ships were equipped with the latest in high-powered energy weapons, capable of piercing the advanced armor of JK's flagship. They were meant to act as a distraction, but Olivia had other plans. As the fleet launched, Olivia's mind raced through the calculations. Timing was critical. The alien fleet was distracted by the drones, but they would soon adapt. The secondary fleet had to strike hard and fast. It had to hit JK's flagship directly, forcing him into a defensive position. If she could get inside his command ship's defenses, the whole fleet would be forced to retreat. The secondary fleet moved swiftly through space, weaving in and out of JK's disorganized formations. It wasn't subtle. It was a full-on assault. Earth's warships fired powerful beams of energy, slicing through the hulls of the alien vessels. The first few ships were destroyed instantly. JK's fleet was reeling, unable to defend against the sudden onslaught. "What the hell is going on?" Zorak hissed, fury radiating from him. "They're not supposed to have this kind of weaponry." His first officer watched helplessly as more ships were taken down. "Commander, they've breached the perimeter. The flagship is under direct threat." "Retreat," Zorak sneered. "Never." Olivia's pulse quickened as the secondary fleet closed in on JK's flagship. She could see on the map a vast, looming structure bristling with weaponry, but now vulnerable. A direct strike could cripple it. "This is it," Olivia said, her voice low but filled with purpose. Prepare for the final blow. With one swift motion, she gave the command to launch the final phase of their strike. The fleet's most powerful weapon, an energy cannon capable of piercing even the toughest alien hulls, locked on Jacquet's flagship. The shot rang out, tearing through the void of space with a blinding flash. The beam hit its target dead on, and for a split second, there was complete silence. Then, an explosion rocked the alien flagship, sending shockwaves through space. Jacquet's command ship was crippled, its shields flickering in a desperate attempt to stay intact. Jacquet stood on the bridge, watching the devastation unfold before his eyes. His flagship was burning, and his fleet was falling apart. His entire invasion force had been dealt a devastating blow. Withdraw. Jacquet barked. All units retreat. We'll regroup and strike again. But the damage was done. Earth had struck back with force, and for the first time since the battle had begun, Jacquet was uncertain. His overconfidence had been shattered, and the planet he had thought so easy to conquer had shown its true strength. As Earth's fleet pressed its advantage, Olivia stood tall, her eyes fixed on the chaotic battlefield. For now, Earth was safe, but the war was far from over, and humanity would never back down. The holographic map flickered to life, the battlefield stretching across the command center's central display. Olivia Hayes stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the readouts as Earth's forces held the line. It was a strange mix of triumph and unease. The first wave had been repelled, the second disrupted, but Jacquet was not the kind of commander to retreat without trying everything to reclaim his prize. General Tanaka, Olivia said, her voice calm but laced with tension. What's their status? Tanaka's hands hovered over the console, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the incoming data. The enemy is regrouping. Jacquet has pulled back the remnants of his fleet. They're repairing their ships, but they're not backing down. He's preparing for a final push. This time, it's all or nothing. Olivia turned to the tactical screen, her mind racing. She had hoped that Jacquet's retreat would mark the end of the battle, but deep down, she had known better. The Zorash Empire wasn't known for surrendering easily, and Jacquet, in particular, was a creature of pride. This wouldn't end until one of them broke. Prepare the fleet for a counterattack, she said. Her voice was unwavering, but inside, her thoughts were a storm of conflicting emotions. It wasn't just about strategy now. It was personal. She couldn't let Jacquet win. Not after everything Earth had endured. Tanaka nodded. All forces are ready. The fleet is at optimal range. We've kept the stealth ships in reserve. They'll be crucial in this next phase. On board Jacquet's flagship, the atmosphere was tense. The massive warship groaned as its systems were patched up, temporary fixes quickly applied by his engineers. Jacquet paced across the command bridge, his eyes never leaving the view screen, which showed the swirling chaos of battle just beyond his ship. How long until we're fully operational? Jacquet growled at his tactical officer, his patience wearing thin. Another 20 minutes, Commander, the officer replied, his voice strained. But we can't afford to wait much longer. The humans are preparing for another strike. Jacquet's mandibles clicked together in frustration. He had underestimated the humans, and now they were proving far more resilient than he had anticipated. No more delays. Ready the fleet, he ordered. We're going to crush them once and for all. Full assault. His first officer looked up from the tactical station. Sir, if we move in with the full force of our fleet, we risk splitting our own resources. The humans have shown unexpected tactical prowess. They could exploit any weakness. Jacquet turned sharply, his eyes narrowing. They're insects, not generals. They'll break before we do. But his officer didn't look convinced. Understood, Commander, he said, though the doubt in his voice was unmistakable. Back at Earth's command center, Olivia was already in motion. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing on her. This was it, the final confrontation. The success or failure of Earth's survival rested on her shoulders. She looked at the faces around her, her team, her friends. They were all counting on her just as much as she was counting on them. Tanaka, I need every available ship in position. Olivia said, her voice steady. We'll engage them head-on, but we'll use every trick we have to keep them guessing. They think they can overwhelm us. Let's prove them wrong. Her words were sharp, precise, and without hesitation. It wasn't just the fate of Earth she was thinking about. It was every man, woman, and child on the planet. She would not let them fall to JK's arrogance. Tanaka met her gaze, his eyes full of resolve. We'll give them everything we've got. Olivia nodded and turned back to the map. Activate the secondary fleet's weapons systems. Full power. The silence of space was shattered as the two fleets, Earth's and the Zorash empires, faced each other once more. JK's ships, now fully repaired and rearmed, surged forward with the force of a tidal wave. Earth's fleet, though smaller, was positioned with deadly precision, each ship ready to strike. Olivia's hand hovered over the control panel. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, but her mind was clear. This was the moment they had been preparing for. As the first wave of alien fire came roaring toward them, Olivia didn't flinch. Deploy countermeasures, she ordered, her voice tight with focus. Engage evasive maneuvers. The Earth fleet responded instantly. Ships darted through space, their maneuvering thrusters sending them rocketing in unpredictable directions. Alien missiles tore through the void, but they couldn't keep up. Earth's ships were too fast, too agile, and the Zorash fleet's fire began to miss more and more frequently. But JK wasn't done. He pushed forward, more ships joining the fray as he ordered an all-out barrage. This was the endgame for him, a fight to the finish. Prepare for their next wave, Olivia said, eyes never leaving the screen. Activate the drones. Thousands of small drones shot into the air, their engines humming as they sped toward the alien fleet. The drones darted in and out of the chaos, distracting the Zorash ships and disrupting their fire. The sheer number of them created a shield of constant movement, forcing JK's fleet to react rather than attack. But it wasn't enough. JK's ships regrouped quickly, bringing their full firepower to bear. The first wave of drones was decimated within moments, but that wasn't the real plan. Olivia had known the drones wouldn't survive. They were a diversion. Inside JK's flagship, his anger bubbled over. They're toying with us, he snarled. Don't let them think they've won. Open fire with everything we have. JK's fleet unleashed their full might, their massive weaponry lighting up the dark expanse of space. But as the blast streaked toward Earth's defenses, something unexpected happened. Now, Olivia shouted. The secondary fleet stealth ships emerged from their hidden positions, launching a series of targeted strikes at the heart of JK's fleet. Massive energy blasts tore through the alien warships, one after another. JK's flagship shuddered as it took direct hits from the energy beams, its outer hull cracking under the pressure. The fleet's cohesion began to break apart as JK's ships scrambled to defend themselves. Direct hit on their flagship. A voice rang out from Earth's command center. It's taking heavy damage. Olivia's pulse quickened as the alien flagship staggered, smoke and fire billowing from its sides. But she wasn't done yet. Focus all fire on their command ship. We need to end this now. JK's fury reached its peak. His fleet, once powerful and unstoppable, was now in disarray. His pride, once unshakable, was shattered. Withdraw, he roared, slamming his fist against the console. All units retreat. We can regroup. This isn't over. But it was too late. The damage had been done. Earth had taken its shot, and it had struck true. JK's flagship, along with several key ships, was crippled beyond repair. The Zorash fleet began to retreat in a disorganized mass, their once mighty armada falling apart before Olivia's eyes. We did it, Tanaka said, his voice filled with disbelief. They're retreating. Olivia didn't smile. She didn't need to. She had known this was coming. She turned to the tactical officer. Track their retreat. I want to make sure they don't come back. Chapter 5: Aftermath and Legacy. The command center was quiet. The hum of monitors and the soft footsteps of officers moving about the room were the only sounds. Olivia Hayes stood at the center of it all, her gaze fixed on the large screen that now displayed the retreating Zorash fleet. Her hands, once steady on the console, were now clenched into fists at her sides. Earth had won, but the victory felt more like a reprieve than a triumph. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. "General Tanaka," Olivia said, breaking the silence. Her voice was hoarse, but still carried the weight of authority. "What's the status on the Zorash retreat?" Tanaka, his face drawn with exhaustion, tapped a few keys on his console. "They're pulling back to their home system, but they're leaving behind a trail of broken ships. We've hit them harder than they expected. It's not a full retreat. They'll regroup, but for now, they're gone." Olivia nodded. She had expected no less. The Zorash Empire didn't just disappear after a single defeat. But this time, Earth had proven something. The planet was no longer a target to be easily crushed. The message had been sent. She turned to the screen, watching as the last of the enemy ships blinked out of view. "Track their movements. I want to know where they go, what they do." "This isn't over, General." "Yes, ma'am," Tanaka replied. His fingers moved swiftly over the console as he input the commands. "We'll monitor them closely." The tension in the command center began to lift, but Olivia felt no relief. Her mind was a whirlwind, constantly replaying the battle, the close calls, the moments when everything could have gone wrong. She could still see the images of her fleet, battered but resilient, fighting back against the overwhelming odds. But no matter how strong they had been, she knew this was only the beginning. Zorash would return. The Zorash Empire would not forget their humiliation. "Captain," Tanaka's voice cut through her thoughts. "We've received a message from the Galactic Federation. They want to speak with you." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Put them through." The holographic display flickered and then solidified into the image of a tall, dignified woman, Admiral Lyra of the Federation. Her expression was calm, but there was a glint of something else in her eyes, respect, perhaps, or even admiration. "Captain Hayes," Admiral Lyra said, her voice filled with formality but tinged with warmth. "You have done what many thought impossible. The Zorash Empire is no small threat, but you and your forces have held the line. For now, Earth is safe." Olivia's shoulders tensed at the mention of "for now." She wasn't fooled by their praise. "Thank you, Admiral, but I don't need congratulations. We won a battle, not the war. We sent a message, but the Zorash Empire doesn't bow easily." Lyra's eyes softened slightly. "You're right, and that message has reached the farthest corners of the galaxy. The Federation now knows Earth is not just a target. It's a force to be reckoned with." Olivia felt a brief flicker of pride, but it was quickly replaced by the harsh realities she knew awaited them. "We need support. We need to strengthen Earth's defenses, build alliances. The Zorash will come back. They'll want revenge." Admiral Lyra nodded. "That's already in motion. We'll begin the process of formalizing Earth's position within the Federation. I'll make sure that help is on the way. But we both know this isn't just about fighting the Zorash. It's about what comes after." Olivia took a deep breath. "I'm not interested in just surviving, Admiral. Earth needs to thrive. We need to make our own place in this galaxy. If we don't, we'll be just another world to be conquered. I won't let that happen." Lyra's lips curved into a thin smile. "I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Captain. You've already shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of." The call ended, and Olivia was left standing alone in the command center, her mind still racing. The Federation support would help, but it would take time Earth didn't have. She could feel the weight of the decision on her shoulders. She wasn't just defending Earth anymore. She was shaping its future, and the future was filled with unknowns. "Ma'am," Tanaka said quietly, pulling her from her thoughts. "We've completed the casualty reports." Olivia nodded and turned toward him. She had known the numbers wouldn't be pretty, but it still hit her hard. "How many?" 233 dead, another 500 injured, Tanaka replied. "But those are the confirmed numbers. We won't know the full extent of the damage until the recovery teams finish their work." Olivia closed her eyes, allowing the gravity of the loss to settle in. 233 lives. Names she would never know, faces she would never see. But their sacrifice wasn't in vain. They had bought Earth time, and time was everything. "I'll be in my quarters," Olivia said, her voice tight. "We still have work to do." Tanaka didn't question her. He knew better. He'd been with her through every decision, every victory, and every loss. "Understood, ma'am." The walk to her quarters was quiet. Olivia moved through the hallways, the weight of the world pressing down on her. She had been in battlefields before, countless skirmishes, desperate defenses, and long nights of uncertainty. But this was different. This was her home, the place she swore to protect. And now, the responsibility seemed heavier than ever. Entering her quarters, Olivia stood before the window, looking out at the blue and white planet below. Earth, her home, the place she had fought for, and the place she would continue to fight for. She allowed a breath, steadying herself. The world was changing. The galaxy was changing. But Earth would not be a pawn in the game of empires. She would ensure that. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden chime on her communicator. She tapped the screen, her gaze sharp. Yes. Captain Hayes, the voice of her second-in-command, Lieutenant Kira, came through. "We've received word from the United Federation. The first wave of Federation reinforcements will arrive within the next 2 weeks. More will follow. They want to begin joint training with Earth's forces as soon as possible." Olivia exhaled slowly, her mind already racing ahead. "Good. But we need to be ready for more than just a fight. We need to prepare for diplomacy, for alliances. I won't let Earth be just a cog in the Federation machine. We'll build our future on our terms." Kira was silent for a moment. "Understood, Captain." The connection ended, and Olivia turned back to the window. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth's place in the galaxy was no longer up for debate. They had earned their seat at the table, and she would make sure they kept it. The battle for Earth's future was just beginning. But this time, she wasn't fighting alone. As the alien fleet vanished into the darkness of space, the command center erupted into cheers. But Olivia's mind was elsewhere. This battle was over. But the war was just beginning.